guys, Cal, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing my review for Black Clover Episode 5, and right off the bat, I can say praise the anime lords, because the pacing in this episode was leagues better than any of the 4 episodes we've gotten up, any of the other 4 episodes we've got up until this point. And, well, I mean, I did get a little concerned when we got those shots of fodder characters fighting, but luckily it didn't last all that long. And I guess I got even more concerned again when the selection process began, but they breezed through that just as fast. And the episode ended with Asta arriving at pretty much the Black Bull's order hole. I don't think I'm giving anything away by that, but yeah. And actually, one thing I do want to mention, but pretty much before I get into anything further into the review, if pretty much anyone if anyone has pretty much a problem with, if anyone has a problem with is having a problem with if anyone is having a problem with pretty much the voice actor for, well, the Japanese voice actor for Asta at this point, then you can actually go over to Funimation or Kiss Anime and whatnot, and the dub of Black Clover has been released. So yeah, for anyone who's having a problem with the sub version of Black Clover, you can actually go over to, you can actually switch over now and watch the dub. Although there definitely isn't as many episodes as there are in the dub yet, so I would still kind of wait a bit if I were you guys. But yeah, now that we got that out of the way, let's continue. So the other thing is, I'm not gonna lie, there are two major issues with this episode, though. The first one is, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of getting a little tired of that introductory portion that always talks about the Wizard King. I mean, I get that it's part of the recap, but hopefully somewhere down the line that they actually kind of switch it up and they switch it up and they actually kind of and they decide to do and they switch up a bit of a different animation for that. That whole introductory portion, but yeah, that's just my point of view. And the other biggest issue is that in the beginning, where they basically just repeated the fight from last week, but they don't focus on it too long, and even then, I think they were mostly trying to focus on the perspective from pretty much all of the onlookers of that fight, like everyone who was saying. Everyone who was basically present and saw the fight, I think they were trying to focus more on that, but yeah. But that's not the big thing, because the big stuff in this one is that we get a little bit of insight into Asta's power through Yami in this episode, and he states that it's because Asta has no magical power is the reason he's able to wield that sword, which honestly only begs the question, what is that sword made of then? I mean, educated guess right off the bat, if I did have to take an educated guess, based on that shadowy image that loomed over Asta in episode 1 when he first summoned the sword, I'd have to say it's more based off some kind of demonic power than anything else. Because if it isn't technically magic power, then what technically is it? Like, I mean, just the fact actually that the sword has such a dark presence to it, and even Yami himself said in this episode that people are actually afraid of Asta's power is kind of proof that, yeah, there is definitely, it isn't magic power, but it is probably like a very dark and demonic power. I mean, even the fucking color scheme of it in the fucking color scheme that even the fucking color scheme proves it's more than just magic power. It's some kind of demon power for sure. So yeah. Also, on a side note, in this episode, we learned, I think it's kind of hilarious that they describe the source of magic power as mana. Like when I saw Yami describing it as mana, I was like, that sounds some MMORPG World of Warcraft shit. Like, wow. Like, they're describing it all as mana. Like, I guess Fairy Tail kind of has the right to magic power, so they have to come up with something different. But mana, really? I think the creator of Black Clover has been playing too many MMORPGs. But yeah, just a funny little note on that one. And when it was Yuno's turn to fight, I was happy to see him go in, get his moment to fight in this episode, and I got even happier when he wasted that Prissy Noble. And That's one thing I think Black Clover does extremely well at, is that it's showing just how much downright unlikable a lot of these noble brats are, and I do believe that when Black Clover ends, no matter who becomes Wizard King, whether it's Asta or Yuno, I think Asta and Yuno together, I think it's probably a cliche and probably obvious to say this, but I think when Asta and Yuno get the Asta and Yuno together, no matter who becomes Wizard King, I mean, it's probably obviously it's going to be Asta, but when I think Asta and Yuno together, we'll be able to form this like giant gap that's been formed between the nobility and the common folk, because they really, because Black Clover really seems to be pushing this whole element, that whole element of the story hard, is that there is this giant rift between both a rift between the nobility of the kingdom and the common folk of the kingdom, and the nobility are just a bunch of entitled shitheads. So yeah, in a way, they are they seem to be pushing that hard, and I get that that is part of what that is going to be one of the driving forces of Black Clover. So yeah. Um, Now I think it's now in this episode, by the end of this, around the time of the selection process, Asta ends up joining the Black Bulls, and I think it was more than obvious that Asta was going to end up joining them. I mean, it was being pushed. It was pushed. It was being pushed hard as hell, and even in last week's episode, and even harder here, I guess. But yeah, I think it was obvious that he was going to end up joining the Black Bulls, and I mean, all signs are pointing to it and whatnot. But one thing I do like is how Yami actually tested Asta even further, even before accepting him. And even though this isn't technically anything new, I just love how much of a fucking sadist Yami is. Like, he was about the whole situation. Like, in the end, it wasn't some, like, he was just going on about how I'm gonna put you through hell, motherfucker. I'm gonna make you bleed. I'm gonna make you wish you were never born. Wait, what? I'm gonna make you wish you were never born by, and then when that happens, become magic, become the Wizard King. I'm like, Yami, you as a character are just amazing. Like, I know a lot of people compare him to Kakashi, and yeah, there are definitely some Kakashi tropes out in his character, but honestly, I think just the fact of how much of a sadist he is enough for me to say that Yami is definitely a character unto himself. Like, yeah, and especially like at the end of the day, I think like in the way it was presented, it wasn't in the way Asta's acceptance into the Black Bulls was presented. It wasn't anything new. We have seen this before, but it was not so much in the dialogue of it, but it was definitely in the delivery. And Yami was just amazing in his delivery. I got to give the voice actor who's voicing Yami credit on that one. Um, yeah, and and to pretty much end this review off, I actually want to talk about that aftermath scene because I'm not sure if many picked up on it, but when that Crestfolk who lost to Asta attempted to poison him, he described his poison lizard technique, I think if I remember correctly, as a something that tests a person's luck, where if they're lucky enough they survive, but if they have poor luck, then they die. And when Junior interfered and crushed it with his wind familiar, I was like, did Black Clover just a straight up screw with the shonen luck cliche? I mean, I would argue that since Yuno interfered, I mean, I guess you could argue that since I guess you could argue no, since Yuno interfered, and and Yuno kind of represented Asta's luck, but in most cases, from what I've seen, the lizard would have poisoned Asta, and Asta would have overcome the poison through sheer dumb luck, determination, willpower, all that shonen shit. So, in a way, I can't help feel that in its own particular way, well, I don't know if done well, it was kind of Black Clover was kind of screwing with that concept by having it dealt with before anything even happened. Like, if you really think about it, it isn't too far fetched. I mean, we have seen instances in this new generation in this new generation of shonen anime, especially with something like My Hero Academia, where they do kind of play with these shonen tropes a bit. And I feel this was Black Clover's way of playing with that whole main character having sheer dumb luck and having sheer dumb luck and determination. So yeah, in a way, I was kind of playing with it, but even before, but by having the whole situation dealt with before it even happened. So yeah, I don't know. It did seem kind of fun in that way. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I have for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, or follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Death Night of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.